Hello and welcome to this very special edition of Irish Wrestling Podcast. My name is Mark O'Brien, and today I'm joined by somebody incredibly special. He's a screenwriter, he's an actor, he's a comedian, he's a podcaster, he's a wrestler. Some of you may know him from his work on Netflix with shows such as Glow, his own film Heel, movies such as Iron Claw, The Wanted Man, his own short film, which had critical acclaim. Some of you may follow his own podcast, which he ran through 2024 with his brother Nick. He's also got his recently been doing his own travel vlog on YouTube, which is very enjoyable, by the way. Go out of your way to watch that. Some of you may know him as Hot Young Briley, but to me, he's always known as the Hollywood hunk. I'm joined by the one and the only Ryan Nemeth. Ryan, how was that for an introduction?
I'm speechless here. I don't know what to say, really. You covered my entire life in one breath. Thank you. Very flattered.
Yeah, no problem at all.
Um,
Listen, stop putting myself over more than anything here. So that's the aim of this.
yeah, yep, got it.
Uh,
What a guy. What an intro. What a memory on you. Jeez, it's very professional.
Very well read, some would say. But anyway, listen, before we get started, listen, obviously you're living in California, in LA at the minute. I have a sister
Yeah.
who's living in that part of the world. She works in sports science. Really sorry to hear what's been happening with the LA fires. I hope you and your family are all okay.
Yeah, we came very, very close to having to evacuate, but luckily we did not have to. It was visible from my porch. So for a few nights we weren't sleeping, just looking out at the horizon. It looked like it was 1 block away. It was 2 miles from our house. So we could smell it, we could see it, we could see the flames, the helicopters dropping the water and the fire stuff. And our neighborhood was, having to evacuate. And then the boundary kind of stopped right before us. So we were ready. Everything was packed and loaded in the cars, ready every night. We wouldn't sleep, just waiting for the notice. Thankfully, it didn't come, but yeah, it's very destructive. It's sad. It's tragic. The Wednesday that all happened, I had a doctor's appointment in the Palisades, and the night before, I was friends with some of the staff there, so I was looking at their Instagram stories, and they showed a picture of the building with the smoke coming. And so I DM'd the nurse and I said, "Hey, I'm just confirming I should not come tomorrow, right?" And I hate to laugh at this because it's so insane. And she wrote back and said, "Please, whatever you do, do not come here tomorrow." And I said, "Got it." And then my appointment was at 9 a.m. and I checked around 6 or 7 a.m. The 4-story building was completely gone, just
Mm,
smoldering, gone. And that was like day one of me thinking, "Oh my God, this is every year there's fires, but they're usually over there. Now they're
yeah.
coming into the neighborhoods and cities," and that was really scary. It's a bummer. It's a bummer. Yes. I hope your sister's okay as well.
Yeah, she's doing absolutely fine. But listen, I'm 8 hour time difference from you. I'm in Dublin, Ireland, so like it seems like the most surreal thing imaginable going on, while also being this part of the world, you don't fully appreciate how enormous America is and how many different cultures and how many different things are going on across a vast continent. So, yeah,
It's
listen,
interesting. Was sending my parents who live in Ohio. This is right on your topic. I was sending them the footage and the photos, and they said it looks like a nuclear bomb went off in your neighborhood because the cloud was like,
yeah.
like that. And my dad said, "Well, it's getting worse and worse there, and maybe you should move back here." And I said, "Well, anything going on there?" And he said, "Well, we had 4 tornadoes last year, so maybe not. I don't know."
We've had a storm here in Ireland where 500,000 people still don't have power. So, listen, each their own.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
So
Everywhere is what it's interesting. The weather seems to be getting very extreme lately. I don't know if anyone's done any studies.
I don't know if you're a nerd in linguistics like me, but have you heard of the term pathetic fallacy, where the weather reflects the mood of people? So I don't know if that's so. If you want to get political, but anyway, that's that. Anyway, listen, moving back onto topics. You're a guy who's been into a million and one different places, done a huge amount of really interesting things in the space of wrestling. From your time in developmental with WWE, from OVW, FCW, NXT, your sojourn over in AEW and Ring of Honor, now over to TNA, hop, skip, and a jump over to New Japan briefly as well. You've had
Mhm.
some incredible experiences now, but I suppose as a person who's got a sibling and a sister who I forced to play sports at me at a young age, how cool is it now to be able to kind of fulfill, I suppose it must be a childhood dream, working with your brother day in, day out.
Well, that's the only reason I wanted to wrestle in the first place. So
Brilliant.
yeah, it's really great. I was surprised that it took a company so long to put us together.
Yeah.
And I am very aware that my brother has had an amazing career solo on his own and with doing his own thing. But I mean, even when I was in NXT and FCW,
Mm.
I remember there's one clear moment on commentary. I was wrestling somebody, and William Regal said, "Briley Pierce, he's a younger brother of Dolph Ziggler, strange, different last names." And and then when the episode went live, they edited that out. Like someone just never wanted people to know that there was a. I think it was a very strange time there.
Okay.
But now the main draw for me to go to TNA
Mm.
was, hey, we have plans for you to do things with your brother. Here's what they are. And I don't think I'm spoiling company secrets by saying that. Of course,
Mm.
it seems obvious that would be enticing to me to go work with alongside my brother. We do everything else together. We make short films together. We perform live comedy together. And, we have done things together since we've been alive. So it is so awesome to be doing wrestling
Yeah.
story, a heavy duty wrestling storyline with him. And we got the tags together at a pay-per-view against
Yeah.
the tag teams. It was in Chicago last summer. That was incredible. I had a lot of people come fly to Chicago to come see that. And, I've wrestled for some very large companies. And that night was probably for me personally the biggest one because it was just special as
Mm.
competing for championships with my brother. It was great.
Yeah, and you're also part of it. You're joined TNA at a time where coincidentally over the last year, TNA's had a resurgence. Now, I'm not saying it's because you left AEW that TNA is now possibly the number two brand if you want to follow Twitter or whatever people are saying these days. I'm
I need
just
to
putting that out
say,
there. Timelines are kind of joining up, but anyway.
whatever the term you used about the mood affecting the storms, my mood is affecting how great TNA is doing lately.
Exactly, there you are, exactly. No, but listen, as somebody who uh, Ireland during COVID, you debuted in AEW during COVID, the height of COVID here. We had these weird parameters where you couldn't walk more than 3 kilometers outside your house. So you're pretty much locked
Mhm.
in your bedroom, working from home. I would watch pretty much any wrestling I get my hands on while I was working, kind of work boring job in finance at the time, on
Yeah.
my phone as I was working on my laptop. You debuting, and I vividly remember you debuting or watching it on Thursday morning after AEW showed on a Wednesday. You debuting in Jacksonville, a Daly's place in AEW. And then over
Mhm.
the week, at the start of January 2021, I believe, and then over the weeks that followed that, forming the Wingmen and kind of doing your touch tips and all that kind of good crack stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Um, that was really cool for somebody who's kind of followed your career through NXT, who was a black and gold fan, somebody who was a complete wrestling nerd and got into the weeds of STW and all those things back in the early
Yeah.
2010s. That was really fulfilling for me. So, like, listen, firstly, thank you very, very much for doing that. But secondly,
I
with
loved
the
it as
lot,
much as you loved it.
yeah, well, like, how was that as an experience? So, I suppose like almost 10 years since leaving WWE, suddenly you got another chance back into the big time.
Mhm. Uh, I got to tell you, it was very unexpected. I was pretty plugged into doing other things. Prior to the pandemic happening, I was making a great living acting, doing stunts, working as a stunts
Mm,
coordinator. When TV shows and music videos and little films would do wrestling things, I would be brought in as a consultant. And one of my greatest things, or my happiest moments prior to the pandemic, right before the pandemic, was this show on NBC called AP Bio. They brought me into the writer's room and talked about, we think we might write an episode about wrestling. Can we just have you in the writer's room for a couple of, I don't know if it's a day or two. And that was fun. And then I left. And then a month later, they said, we are going to do that episode. Will you take the job as the consultant for wrestling? We'll make up a credit. You just be in charge of booking wrestlers, finding us a ring, training people, showing us the stunts, getting wardrobe and a ring announcer. And I was like, yes, this is my dream right here. Combining Hollywood,
yeah,
show business, and wrestling. Because otherwise you're like me, you have a quite useless supply of information and knowledge about wrestling. But I finally found a place to put it to use, you
yeah,
know? And I was doing those kinds of things and really loving life. And there was one day I saw the final day of taping AP Bio, I saw a guy wearing one of those face masks, and I said, hey, I had never really seen one in real life. And I said, how come you're wearing that mask? And he said, oh, that virus that's going around. And I said, oh, I didn't hear about it. He goes, no, check the news. There's something, I'm just being careful. And I said, all right. And then it was the very next day that everything in America shut down everywhere. And I was like, I really wasn't paying attention to the news. I didn't know that guy was really on top of it. But it was during that time that, oh man, I always forget the story has a sad part to it. Luke Harper, Brody
oh
Lee
yeah,
had
yeah.
passed away. And so I got a secret heads up that he had been fallen ill
Mm,
there's a small little group of best friends from
mm,
FCW and NXT, and someone messaged me, I won't say who, and said, you may or already know this, but if you don't, here's what's happening medically. We're
mm.
all keeping it a secret. Amanda doesn't want anybody to know. And I'm like, okay, got it. I was like, oh my God. And then he had passed away. It was very sad, and they, a group of people said, "Why don't you come for his son's birthday party? We're gonna do a special birthday party for him at Dynamite." And I said, "Well, I can't just go to some other company's TV show." And they're like, "You're cool, don't worry." And like it turns out I was cool. I couldn't with all like you just gotta get a COVID test.
Yeah,
You're on the list. Dr. Sampson knows you're coming. They know you're coming. And I was like, okay. Oh, and by the way, bring wrestling gear just in case. And I thought, okay, I'm not coming here to wrestle. I'm coming here to say happy birthday to the kid I used to babysit. And of course, he did not recognize me at all because I hadn't seen him in six
yeah,
years. But I used to babysit him all the time. He was a wild man, wild child. But while I was there, someone I don't even remember who maybe it was Tony. Hey, do you want to wrestle? We're gonna do AEW Dark. You have your gear? And I was like, sure. And then we had a match on Dark that
mm,
never aired, I don't think, because right after I was coming through the tunnel afterwards, and Tony Khan, who was the owner, was coming through the tunnel to meet me. He said, "Hey, I want to put you. That was great. I want to put you on Dynamite tomorrow." And I was like, "Wait, what?" I was just feel like I was just filling a spot and some match for
yeah,
someone on this heel team. And then I had a match with Hangman Adam
yeah,
Page
yeah,
the very next Dynamite in the dark. So that was my debut. And then they sent a film crew to LA the 2 days later to film me talking at the Venice Beach skate park about it. And I kind of was thinking, what do you want me to talk about? I don't work here. Like I
yeah,
don't,
yeah,
and so me and this film crew were just kind of trying to wing what do you even really have to talk about? You have no storyline in this company, but I guess you're debuting. Do you work there? No. But then they kept flying me back for the tapings and putting me in matches against Moxley and Pac, and then the
yeah.
wingman thing started. I had a blast for the first year and a half. It was great. Yeah, it was really fun. And I just saw on my phone that I have been awarded legally from the U.S. whatever department. I don't want to get this wrong. I don't want to misspeak about the law in America.
Not right now, anyway. Yeah,
No, not right now, and it's
no,
quickly being melted. The United States of America, United States Patent and Trademark Office, Hollywood Hunk and Summer of Hunk, they're mine. And Hunkamania is next, baby.
unbelievable.
So that's exciting.
A bit
But I don't remember
touching
what is
tips next,
that?
maybe.
Tips up with touch
Yeah,
tips,
yeah,
baby.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, but that was
What
really
is?
listen. That was really cool that time. Like obviously, it was a really sad circumstances you being brought back into or brought
Yeah, very
into back
sad.
into
Yeah.
wrestling. It was really heartwarming for those of us around the world, kind of seeing how that was handled though, and like how quiet it was. Obviously, if you a very few select people knew about the kind of situation at the time, but I suppose
Mhm.
like you kind of get being brought into AEW, how it was handled, like made not light of, but made the best of it, kind of a terrible situation, and kind of what turned something terrible into something good as well. But no, listen, I thoroughly enjoyed your kind of initial run with AEW. That kind of I don't know if you're familiar with pantomime over here, in this part of the world. Kind of you come out and do the "Let's go honk" to an almost dead Daly's place. Like, and like for those of us who kind of love that kind of shithousery, like just sitting in a bedroom, locked in the bedroom, pretending to work in COVID, like
Yeah.
while slowly moving my mouse, just laughing away. I loved it. That was absolutely brilliant.
Thank you, thank you. You just reminded me of at the time my phone had like erased all my messages, so I was trying to find all my messages with Luke Harper or Brody Lee,
Yeah.
and only the last few weeks of them are on there. But for some reason, when I updated and got this new phone, this iPhone 15 or whatever it is, it found all of these old texts from like 8 years back. So I have recently been reading all of my messages with him and just loving it.
Yeah,
Night.
yeah.
It's like finding your high school yearbook or something. It's very fun.
That's brilliant, man. But listen, that again, I'm delighted you had that year and a half as you touched on there. We absolutely loved your time in AEW. I'm sorry kind of how things finished up. Like, I mean,
There
sh sh
was more than a year and a half. I just only
okay.
enjoyed the first year.
So that's what I'm saying. That the
Yeah, yeah,
last period or whatever. So I do. I'm listen. Sorry that obviously in December, Fightful had a story out about a complaint you lodged. Like, I don't want to get into the weeds of that, but like hopefully on your end that has come to a good resolution on your end, something that you're happy with, or rather hasn't been swept under the rug and ignored at least.
Oh no, that will be probably going on for as long as things take to go on for it. I think it's a very nice wish of yours. It is by no means resolved in any way at all, but I hope that it will be someday, and I'm very confident that it will be.
Good. Well, listen, anybody who's
Thank
been
you.
in any sort of workplace environment where I don't want to use the word harassment or unsavory things have happened that can cause undue stress to anybody, and particularly in a line of work, there's high pressure, there's wrestling and
Yeah, oh
performative
yeah,
is wrestling.
definitely.
So listen, yeah, hopefully that we're wishing you all the very, very best in that one. Um, Random question now, just off the top of your head. For the companies you've been working with, WWE, TNA, AEW, and whatnot, what would these companies rather you didn't say rather?
I don't. Will you ask me a different way? I don't know what you
Okay,
mean.
so all the companies you've been in,
Yeah.
what is one thing, be it Tony Khan, Vince McMahon, Scott D'Amore and TNA, what is one thing any of these companies would rather you didn't say in an interview right now with me?
Would they like me to not say? Jeez. I never worked with Scott Demore. I showed
Okay,
up after the tenure,
okay,
and I guess in NXT, my bosses were like Triple H and John Laurinaitis,
yeah.
more than Vince. What would they rather I not say? I think I'll tell you this.
Mm,
Recently, I was asking Tommy Dreamer. I said, "Hey, I've been filming some things with some of the NXT people, for social media stuff that we're going to be dropping soon. Do I have any rules about what I should be doing and not doing? Because this is something I'm concerned with because mostly this was very high in WWE, we would have monthly seminars about
mm,
how to talk to the media, what to say, what to not say on your own,
mm,
AEW is a little more lax, or they weren't as experienced as WWE with that. But TNA, so I proactively said, this was this past week in San Antonio, and I said just that. I said, is there something I should be doing or not doing? And his response was so great. I don't think he would mind me saying this. He said, as long as whatever you're doing makes people hate you, do whatever you want. I don't care, And I thought, all right, man.
yeah. I can do that. No, fair play. Listen, as I said, touch on earlier, you're part of a real resurgence with TNA now, and obviously the last weekend you're at TNA Genesis over in Garland, Texas. You
Mm.
mentioned earlier, like you've been teaming up with your brother and doing segments, but you're not just in segments. You're in the main event segments, working with your brother Joe Hendry and John Bradshaw Layfield of all people, randomly. And you're probably the only person. He didn't just clothesline you; he punched you in the face at the weekend.
Two
So I hope you
times, yeah.
twice, yeah, needlessly. Well, everybody else is just getting clothesline. So anyway, I don't know what his problem is with you, but like, how fulfilling has that been being in that main event segment again, coming from an unsavory issue, say this time last year, and now you're working in an environment whereby you're selling at arenas, 5,000 plus people. Curtis Caldwell center at the weekend. Obviously, that's obviously a reprieve from the LA fires as well. How fulfilling has that been recently?
Wow, I was worried about flying there while the fires were
Yeah.
happening. Luckily, when I went to the first show for Genesis, things had calmed down. But I will tell you, when I landed in Dallas, I got a warning on my phone that says high wind advisory, fire alarm, or red fire flag alarm. And I was like, oh my God, I just left. Oh my God, oh my God. And so I flew back one day later. We were still cool at our house, but I had to fly back to San Antonio a day after that. And as I was flying, and I'll post this, on my Instagram, I saw a giant cloud in the desert, and I thought, "What is that?" And then, as we flew by, I realized that is a brand new wildfire raging on. And I checked the fire app. It was something called the Hughes fire, which was just going. And I thought, I'm leaving as a brand new one is starting. And
Mm,
where I live is kind of in the center of all of them, so it was kind of scary. So it's a scary time to be flying around, leaving home while evacuation orders are just happening and things are
yeah.
burning and neighborhoods are going up in flames. But to be, yeah, it is. If I were a selfish person, I'd say I feel very vindicated
Mm,
but I'm not really a selfish person. I just think it's nice that this company feels there's a place for me that is useful to their product. And I feel that I personally feel I'm contributing in a way that is helping a few different storylines and interest in the product. In my little way, I'm not the star of the company. I understand that, but there's a place that I fit in, and I am fitting in, and I'm doing the best with what they're giving me. Now, at some other company, they would think the best that I could possibly offer is an 8-man tag match on a Ring of Honor channel that nobody watches. Now, do I feel super excited about that? No, I don't. But that was the job, and that's what you do,
mm,
and you get paid and go home. Now, I feel very, very, very lucky and cool that Anthem and TNA and the creative department and then the executives who are coming and going and new and have been there all kind of look to me and trust that I can handle getting punched in the face by Mr. Layfield.
No, that's really refreshing though. You're working in obviously in a number of different industries really where it's driven largely by selfishness, be it Hollywood, comedy,
Oh yeah.
acting, whatnot. Like so to have that kind of context and lens, like I think I touched on before we started this, I dabbled in wrestling after rugby. Obviously it didn't last that long, but anyway. I find even at an independent level, like it's strange how inflated egos people can have. So to have that kind of
Yeah.
contextual lens of like, no, this is what I'm doing. I'm performing a role. Best of my ability. I'm enjoying it. That's really refreshing and it's really nice to hear.
I'm not under no illusion that being part of the main event at Genesis means I am the main event of Genesis.
Mm,
No, Hendry and Nic Nemeth are the main event of Genesis. But if I'm going to come out and be a buffoon and get 5,000 people to boo me, and that's going to help what is happening in the storyline for
mm.
the main event, great. That's my job. I'm doing it. I'm very happy and very lucky, and I appreciate it. That's fine. It's very fun.
Well, the start of the show is a subjective thing. For the purposes of this interview, I'm going to say you are the main event. And as somebody who prefers buffoonery often than people who take themselves overly seriously, I'm gonna go with you on that one. But also like this TNA's got a huge amount of things going on at the minute. Coincidentally, they're returning to Full Sail, where you performed previously with NXT. How's that going to be? Is it going to be a bit strange, surreal feeling going back to Florida to Full Sail University?
I think so. Every time I
Mm,
go to Florida at all, whether it's Miami or Tampa or Orlando, I always have this mixture of feeling. There's a certain, maybe even in your land, different cities and regions have different aromas and moisture, different dryness, different
mm,
humidity. They're all very unique. And right when
yeah.
you land, you can feel it exiting the plane or the car, it hits you. And so every time I get to Florida and walk out in the air, I think, oh man, I have all these memories that come flooding back. It was a very formative time in my life. I would say more than high school, more than college. My time in FCW and NXT, it was like some kind of magical, what do you call that in between? What's in between heaven and hell?
Purgatory.
It was like a bizarre purgatory
Yeah.
land, not in a bad way. It seemed to be that time and place in my life and many of my best friends' times there seemed to be very isolated and separated from anything else happening in space time. Like it seemed very, and I think you might find that same answer from people like Trent Beretta or Luchasaur or a Kill Switch, Damian Sandow, Aaron
Mm,
Stevens. Anyone who's kind of in that group would all kind of be like, that was wild, man. We were just like, and then when we see each other out somewhere else or in different companies, there's just an unspoken understanding of we were in this bizarre thing that no one else could ever understand. So when I saw that Full Sail was on the schedule, I had like it was
yeah.
a I don't know what it was, but it felt physical vibrating through my body. And when the announcement with the partnership of WWE and TNA came out, and then realizing we're filming at Full Sail, and then seeing there's intercompany matches, I'm shooting little promos with
Mm,
NXT talent. I messaged some of my old NXT buddies and I said, time does not exist. I am still in NXT. My life has come full circle. AEW never happened, and I have never left Full Sail. Like what? Like what has happened?
yeah. Yeah.
I started having these bizarre dreams every once in a while I have a dream that I'm like at FCW and can't
Mm,
find my boots or something.
mm.
But but my dreams this past week have been so vivid about like working in NXT and like TNA, and it's all the same company in the dream and everyone from back then is still there, but like it's so bizarre. It's really weird. I think it's exciting though. It's weird in a good way. I'm
Yeah.
excited.
Your nightmares are a lot more normal than mine. Mine are more like I'm doing an exam in my underpants or something. So listen, that's a lot less disconcerting. What's going on in your end? But no,
My
again, like TNA have got a lot of really cool things going on. Again,
oh
going
yeah.
back to Full Sail, you got Sacrifice in March. You got Rebellion in LA. Hopefully things will be fire free at that point. And then the UBS Arena in Long Island this summer for Slammiversary. Like this is a really, really cool time for TNA, and I couldn't be as somebody who loved TNA as an absolute nerd in my teenage years in the
Yeah.
2010s. I couldn't be more excited to see this resurgence again, spearheaded by the Hollywood Hunk.
Yeah, well, that's too much credit to me. But I do really believe that the roster and the people behind the scenes are just it's a cliched expression, but firing on all cylinders.
Mm.
Really, when I go to these shows, and I started only going to working these shows, I don't know if it was last spring or summer, but not very long. In that short amount of time, I've noticed the attendance, the amount of fans at the shows, it's like doubled every time we do a
Mm.
taping.
Yeah.
Now, it's insane. I will just speak realistically here. We were doing a pretty small building in Albany, New York, which was, I think, my first time working. I had an appearance with my father at the Vegas tapings, but like,
Mm.
flying to Albany, and I thought, oh, okay, this company is kind of doing okay. And then the very next month, it was like, and then,
Mm.
and then the last, I don't know how many last events I've been at have all been sellouts or beyond sellouts.
Yeah.
And we did a 2 day taping last week. Typically, in any kind of live event, the second day will dwindle a little bit. The second event had like 1,000 more people. Like it was getting bigger.
Yeah.
So like it's really, really, really exciting. And I'm so excited to do the LA show because it's going to be at USC's campus at the Galen Center, which is a basketball arena. My brother and I went, and Kazarian went there to go do some publicity for it and see the place and meet the basketball staff and the arena staff. And we that is a great venue. So LA, it's April 27th. Rebellion TNA is doing a live pay-per-view in Los Angeles, which is I love doing things here. And I don't know if I'm going to be on the show, but I'll be part of it, I'm sure, somehow, and I'll be there. Uh, I can't wait. I can't wait to see the Galen Center sold out April 27th for TNA Rebellion. Like, that's going to be a dream.
That'd be
Definitely.
awesome. Yeah, and I know you've got a number of other projects on the go as well. Touched on previously last year, you had your Nemeth Brothers podcasts. You've now got a
Yeah.
travel vlog, which is highly entertaining, as I touched on at the start of this.
Thank you.
You've got a number of different comedy shows on the go as well.
Mm,
As I said, you touched on before we spoke on before this. You've got comedy shows WrestleMania weekend. You got comedy shows around TNA Sacrifice. You got
mm.
probably more most weekends outside of that. You've also got your own movie Stranglehold that's in the works now, might be coming out soon as well. Where can fans in this part of the world, in Ireland, who might not be as familiar with your work outside of wrestling, where can they get in touch with you or find you in terms of these projects as well?
Well, let me just be very respectful here. Stranglehold is not my movie. I'm in it. It's Clark Duke's film,
Okay.
and I think it's gonna be a great film. I hope it comes out soon. I really want you
Mm.
guys to see that. You can find me. I've tried to have my name the same everywhere. Ry Nem Nem. So the YouTube channel is Ry Nem Nem, and the travel vlog. I've only done the premiere episode so far, but I've got a few more in the can ready to go. Basically, my brother and I go to these cities and it's so fun the things that we do, and I just want to share that with people. I was kind of just reviewing what I have in my phone and in our cameras, and I thought, what am I doing with this? The wrestling fans would love to see this, the places we eat, the matches we have, the interactions backstage, the traveling together. Like it's so fun and goofy. Just it's something that a podcast won't give you because a podcast is just two talking
Yeah.
heads interviewing somebody. This is you're there with us. You're going on the road with us. But I hope it's fun.
Listen, I thoroughly enjoy it. Like as somebody who's followed your career from hot young Briley all the way to Ryan Nem now. Ryan, thank you very, very much for your time. I couldn't be happier for
But
your
let me
success.
say one more thing.
Oh, go on, of
I must
course.
say
Yeah,
this.
yeah. Absolutely.
The vlog, I loved BTE, being the elite. I love being a part of that.
Yeah.
And whether the people who saw my contributions that
Hmm.
loved it or hated it, you know that I loved it. And so this is kind of my version of, well, they've kind of, for whatever reason, stopped doing it. I'd like to do our version of that. We're two brothers. They were two
Yeah.
brothers. And this is part of my long-term plan to get the Young Bucks and the Nemeth brothers to collide and fight each other somewhere on planet Earth. So
Yes.
this is the ground. We got the WWE NXT TNA partnership going, and we also have the Secret Other Full Circle, which is, we fought the Lucha Brothers.
Yeah.
I'm sure we're gonna have a run-in with the Hardys. We need the Young Bucks. Nemeth
Mm.
brothers, Young Bucks. It's gonna happen. It's inevitable.
Let's get manifesting this in the background here. I don't know how to manifest, but I'm
I
gonna
wear their
cross
shoes
things and
at
you wear the
special
shoes.
events. Every time Layfield punches me, I'm wearing the Young Bucks sneakers.
Okay. Well, hopefully they don't go flying next time he punches you anyway. So yes. Thank you. No, but listen, Ryan, thank you very, very much for your time. And thank you for being so open and honest across multiple different platforms for people all around the world who've been following your journey for the last 10 plus years. So thank you very, very much, my friend.
Thank you.